Hi, boys. Harley Quinn, nice to meet ya. Love your perfume. What is that? The stench of death? Huh? What was that? I should kill everyone and escape? Sorry. The voices. I'm kidding. Jeez. That's not what they really said.
Seriously.
Are you guys seeing this? Something tells me a whole lot of people are about to die.
What the hell's wrong with you people?
We're bad guys. It's what we do.
Prisoner, get down on your knees now! Down on your knees!
Hey, I'm cooperating, all right? This is me being cool.
Take her. Demon!
What? Hey, guys. Come on, let's go. Woo! What a ride!
Thanks.
Shut up.
Hey everybody, Russ here. Want to welcome you back to episode 3 of Joygasm Unboxing. And if you haven't seen the first 2 episodes, I definitely invite you to check out both the Heath Ledger Joker unboxing as well as the Selena Kyle and Hathaway Catwoman unboxing. But this one in particular is going to be focusing on the J&D Studios 1/3 scale Harley Quinn Margot Robbie edition. So when you take a look at this lovely box here, this has been yet another J&D piece that I've been very excited about in terms of obtaining, and finally right before Christmas, it arrived just the week before. I'm able to finally check it out. I have not seen the statue itself yet. But in terms of the box, the first thing I wanted to actually bring your attention to is what's really cool is, so the colors of the box, the front that you see here is actually, I want to say they took the colors from her pigtails essentially. So if you recall, on one of her pigtails is more of a pinkish color, and then on the other side had more of a bluish color. If I can rotate this without having it fall off the table, you can see how there is a dual tone to the box, which I appreciate for one. You know, I like that kind of production value thoughtfulness that they put in there. So I am very excited to see how this turned out. So let's open up the box and see what's inside. Harley Quinn, 1/3 scale, J&D Studios, Margot Robbie, is standing before me. It is pretty crazy to actually see it in person finally after all this time. And it looks like I should probably adjust the light a bit because she already has that kind of white powdered face. And with her being so close to my key light, this is kind of a common thing with a lot of these 3rd scale statues is that they're so close. It causes me to have to do some adjusting, which is totally fine. It's part of the fun, right? So let's see if we can get her to a more acceptable exposure. I'll get darker, but that's okay. Let's see if we zoom in on her face here. Ooh, she looks more sinister now, doesn't she, with that lower light? Maybe bring that up a little bit more. Just don't want to bleach out that skin too much. That's looking pretty good right in there. Darken a little more. Yeah, that's all right. We'll keep it there for now. We can always have fun doing additional light changes and so forth. So I have a number of thoughts as I look at the statue put together. One of the things that I did not put onto the statue is her earring actually goes on this ear. It's very, very tiny, and I was working with the bat. So many of you probably are already aware of this, but the bat is not firmly attached to her hand. You know, you set it in place in her palm, and then it rests on her shoulder. I've actually seen somebody in the statue forums post a picture where I think they use some kind of fishing wire or fishing line, and have been able to actually loop it around the choker that she wears and loop it around the bat. And they were saying that is actually better in terms of securing it. And you can't really even see the fishing line at all. I was looking at the pictures that were posted. I had to look for a bit before I even found it. And I was actively looking for it. So I think I might eventually do that when it comes to this, because I think the bat is precariously positioned right now. I'll do some 360 spins with the statue and hopefully it won't come out. But the bat itself looks fantastic. Like, there's a lot of detail with the bat. I'm looking forward to actually reading all of the different words that are etched into the bat itself. I've seen a few here and there, but I've never actually studied the thing. Now, the likeness of Margot is pretty close. When you look at her face there, it's like that classic situation with J&D statues where you can look at the portrait from different angles and you definitely pick up whoever it is that the statue is supposed to bear the likeness of. The eyes look terrific, and the teeth, I got to say. So that was one thing I was really curious about when I was watching a lot of the promo videos that J&D came out with. The teeth, the dentures that they were putting into the mouth, that was a first for J&D. And ever since I saw that video, I was thinking, man, how is that going to turn out in the actual production version of these statues? And I got to say, even the video itself does not do it justice. When you look in person at the dentures, the teeth are terrific. I really don't have any kind of negative things to say at all about the teeth. I think the teeth look terrific. The makeup on her face also blends really nicely. There's a nice skin tone. I know that there was a comment actually a number of comments of concern just regarding kind of more of the skin texture that's kind of around like her stomach, hip area. It is a little bit too pronounced, I would say. You know, like if it were up to me, I would probably have reduced the amount of texturing on the skin by maybe an additional, I'd say about 20 to 30%. Yeah, maybe 20%. It's not something that is terrible as is or anything like that. But if I'm being nitpicking, just looking at the skin, I do think the skin is a little too rough, especially for female body. Like, I think I would have reduced that by just a hair. One of the other things I noticed is if you look at her shirt, I'm not sure if the camera is picking it up. It looks like it's doing a little bit. There is this staining that's happening along some of the folds and rips in the shirt that I did not pick up on in the promotional pictures. And that adds yet another level of detail to me, in my opinion. It's just really cool. You could see it picked up here and here. It's not like this, like, oh, it's a perfectly starched white shirt or what have you. But that to me is a big plus. I know that there has been talk about the J that is on her zipper here. That does look really nice in person. It's difficult, I know. I don't think you can't see it from that angle, but I'll get some close-ups of it. The cubic, I think they said they use cubic zirconia in there. It looks great. The purse itself, I like the dimensionality of kind of like the polygonal design of the purse. I'm not sure if it is 100% accurate to what she had in the film. I haven't seen the film in a bit, so I'm a little rusty on how it looked exactly. I'll have to go back and look at that. Again, small nitpick, nothing that's like a big deal whatsoever. You know, one of the other aspects of the statue that I really appreciate is when you look at her fingernails. So one of her hands has different types of colors that are in conjunction with kind of the blue-pink motif that she has going on. But in terms of her other hand, her left hand, instead of having the colors on there, they actually have letters on 4 of those fingers that spell out evil, which I didn't realize was on there. And that's a really nice touch. The bracelets, so these spiked bracelets that you can see right here, and as well as over here, I had to put those on manually. The really nice thing about those is that the points are sharp. Like I was just testing it out with my finger, and those are not dull spikes. So it's just kind of a funny thing to also take note of, where it's like, okay, you know, even though it's not like a metal bracelet, I mean, it's just kind of cool that they are in fact a bit sharp. You're kind of getting stuck by them a little bit. I don't know. I think it just adds to the authenticity of the character. The collar also is a different part that I had to apply. And what's interesting is that it has a clasp on the back. Looking at it, I think there's like a magnet that's inside the collar itself. But after kind of lining that up, there's also like this heart-shaped clasp or pin that you put in through the holes to connect the two and just kind of like cinch them up. I don't think they'll stay together if you don't use that. So it's important that you do. And that's also a very small piece. This particular piece has a lot of smaller accessory items that come with it. And there's nothing wrong with that, but you just have to keep that in mind, like as you're going through and unboxing the different parts and pieces. I mean, we're talking pieces that, I mean, I could place on my index finger, and they're not even the size of like my index finger. Like they're like super small. So bear that in mind. Like as you're going through with this, make sure like you're not gonna drop it in an area that actually has like, I don't know, a lot of different patterns or other stuff around that where it could possibly get lost. Looking at this glove over here, this glove also has a nice pattern texture on the inside that I appreciate. You know, I love how on the top part of the glove, it has different colors. There's kind of different like red leathery type of materials. And on the inside, like you see here, there's more of this grippy kind of texture that's applied. That's really nice. I had seen another YouTube video where someone had actually taken like the jacket off. So the jacket is removable if you want to do that. I'm not going to do that. I personally, I mean, I say that now, but there may be times where maybe I want to like change it up. So like, you know, no pun intended, but like if I wanted to have it, so maybe the jacket's off, maybe it's resting on the stand, like the base. So that way we could see more of her without the jacket. Kind of like actually in, I would say half of the film, she has her jacket off. The other thing too that I noticed that another YouTuber did was I don't know how they did this, but they were somehow able to remove the t-shirt, and they did in fact have the iconic bra that she's wearing, or I don't know if it's a bra or a swimsuit top or whatever it was. But in the film, if you recall, like she's getting dressed into her Harley Quinn outfit, and they have faithfully reproduced that as well. So that's just a testament, in my opinion, of like the detail that J&D goes into, where they really, I mean, they didn't have to do that, but I think what's really nice about it is I don't know if the camera can pick it up or not, but when you look at the shirt, there is like a subtle color hue around the chest area. It's very subtle, but it does help to kind of have that realism of it, kind of that kind of saturated bright color blending through those areas of the shirt. You know, the jacket has a lot of ornate designs on it too that I appreciate. A lot of bling. You know, if you recall in the film, this particular rendition of Harley Quinn, it was definitely like in your face. It was loud. It had lots of rich colors to it. This back part of the jacket I thought was particularly cool. Property of Joker, you know, the establishment, all that fun stuff. Puddin' freaky style, all those things, I don't know, just really connected the entire look of the piece. And of course, like the t-shirt, Daddy's on the Monster, that's a fun little thing. You know, for me personally, I wasn't a fan, and this is just a subjective opinion of what I look for in kind of like my idealized version of Harley Quinn. But I was not a fan of all of the tattoos in the film. Now, in terms of the statue, they, to my knowledge, I'm just looking at what they've done here, they look accurate to me. I was happy when James Gunn did the sequel, did The Suicide Squad. And if you notice, they removed most of her tattoos. I think she still had like one or two, maybe three, but they really did not make that as much of a part of her character as before. This ornate looking index finger ring is also really cool looking. If I look at the boots themselves have a lot of nice detail. The shoelaces actually almost look as if they are real miniature shoelace material, but they're not. They're sculpted. I still appreciate the level of detail in them. I like being able to see the fishnets kind of poking through some of the holes within the shoes themselves. That adds another layer of depth to it. Now, speaking of the fishnets, so actually, I don't even know if these are classified as fishnets or maybe they're just stockings, but they still have the seams. So like one of the things that J&D was trying to fix and they couldn't figure out, like, I guess like what they had learned was that for the 1/3 scale, apparently there's not a vendor that actually creates stockings like this that don't have a seam. I guess if you were a quarter scale, they do. I don't really, I am no expert in this area. Having said that though, you know, looking at where the seams are on this particular piece, I'm glad that they decided to put it more on the inside. It is noticeable, especially like when I have it rotating like this. But when it's still, and they're not very noticeable. I think in a perfect world, though, it would have been nice to have had stockings that did not have those seams. Now, another aspect of the face of this particular piece that I didn't really notice until seeing this in person is the face itself actually conveys a certain level of mayhem that I really appreciate. Like that, like her expression really embodies Margot Robbie, but not only that, it's like you can tell that she's up to no good. There is a certain level of energy that is evoked from the expression, and it carries into the whole pose itself, but it is kind of a byproduct of being able to see it in person as opposed to looking at it on video. You know, the video kind of sort of shows it, but really, you know, when it comes to the in-person type of impression, it definitely has it. You know, that's always kind of like a question I have in my mind whenever I buy any given piece, right? Is like, okay, if we're going for a museum style pose, how much energy is going to be in, you know, kind of the mood, the expression, you know, how much of that is actually going to like come through? Because I don't want to have like a lifeless, just kind of almost like standard pose that doesn't have any kind of soul to it. The glass eyes also, you can't go wrong with glass eyes. That is so crazy, like how it picks up the specular highlights from the various lights. It adds a lot more to it. Now, if you notice on the base, so this particular pose was taken from the scene where she breaks down that storefront glass pane. So you see the glass on the ground here behind her. She's holding the purse. It's where she gives that classic line, you know, we're bad guys, you know, that sort of thing. In addition to that, they also have included these types. In fact, here I'll zoom in on myself so you can see this better. Hopefully you can see that relatively. Ooh, almost dropped it. You can see how tiny these accessories are. These are some of the bullets that come with it. I think these are actually removable off of what you see here. And if you wanted to, you could place these, you know, in her pockets of her jacket if you want. It really just kind of depends. For now, I'm totally fine just keeping them like this. I just kind of like how it makes for like a nice little display. In addition to the glass that you see on the base, they have also included a small bag. This is also no surprise to those who have been waiting for this particular statue. J&D was talking about how you can take this, and if you wanted to, you could sprinkle it along the base in front, just to add a bit more of that immersive quality to what's already there. I'm not going to do that right now because I'm still waiting on like a proper case to put her in. Once that happens, then I'll have fun with this. But for now, I'm going to keep it in the bag. Speaking of the bullets, so I don't know if you can really see too well kind of where she is and all this, but I placed her revolver inside. You can kind of see it like right there, just a little hint of it. What's really nice about that is the gun itself has a lot of decorative elements to it, a lot of flourishes, a lot of elements, and the revolver part is rotatable. So like where the bullets actually go into, and it has like, it's fun. It's like, it says love, hate, love, hate, love, hate as you rotate that. I really appreciate that. I've heard that if you don't want to display her with a bat, you could actually place the revolver into this particular hand. And that's, that acts as a nice option. So if you want to change it up here and there, you could, like I said earlier, the jacket's removable. You can swap out the weapons. She doesn't have to be holding the purse necessarily. Her booty shorts was also a thing of question with a lot of the collectors, just because when the production sample was shown by J&D, we noticed that they seem to be lower, but luckily that is an easy fix. I mean, you literally just have to kind of massage and like hike up the shorts a little bit to get, whatever kind of desired shape you want in the back and the front. So that's a non-issue. I was glad to see that. They did warn you also about how you need to be gentle with these fabrics, just because if you're being a little too rough or you're messing with it too much, they said that there is a possibility that you could have some rips. So just FYI on that. And I mean, ideally, when you have a statue like this, you want to make sure that you're babying it. You don't want to have anything bad happen to these things. Harley as is right now, and see what we can do about getting like some additional optimal lighting situations. It's interesting when I look at the stocking area, if I take this light away, there's a lot of shadows and almost kind of makes her legs look not as flattering. That's completely a lighting thing. If you have this properly lit, that goes away entirely. Zoom in here. That looks nice. A little sculpting of the portrait there with the light. Now, if you get a nice strong key light on her face, definitely brings out the eyes. No surprise there. Notice on the teeth, it has that enamel quality with the shine as the light goes down. That's so cool. And you could see how, as we're playing with the light, there is that insane psychotic energy that is coming from her face. I really like that a lot. I, for one, do see Margot Robbie in this. And I also think it's worth mentioning, too, if you notice her lips, like her lips are actually, like some people were concerned they were too big. They might be like just like a hair too thick, but really, like, again, seeing this in person, I think it's accurate. I think it's really close. I don't think it's 100% accurate, but it's definitely close. I could play with the light here a bit. Maybe go with like a pink. Really brings out the color in that pigtail. Put a little green on there, but let's go back to pink. More of a blue. That looks cool. The sheen on the jacket gets picked up really nicely with this shade of blue. Ooh, that looks cool on her face. I like where that position is. Even that looks kind of cool on the choker where it says pudding. One of the D's is definitely picking up. I wonder how I can get, well, yeah, it's a little too intense if I get too close. But yeah, the shine, the reflective quality on the pudding definitely looks nice. I wonder what a yellow will look like. Yeah, yellow I'm not feeling as much with this. This kind of, yeah, it's not doing her any favors with that. Let's try like a purple. Because, you know, she's property of Mr. J. That's not bad. If I were to use this color, I'd probably make it more like that. So it's subtle. It has just a slight accent, but it's not too overpowering on everything. If you go like that, then it's kind of like, yeah, it's too much. Just something like that. Well, maybe not even that much. Maybe like right there would be cool. This is more of a green color I was messing with initially. You know, the green's actually not bad either as an accent color. That's pretty cool. Again, I wouldn't want to use too much of it. But yeah, having it more as like a rim light would be pretty cool. Just a slight one. Slight presence with the green. That blue, though, I think that's probably one of my favorites right there. And again, it works because a lot of her color palette here has a blue color to it. In fact, I could make it even more like a rich blue. Yeah, that's cool too. Kind of a darker, richer blue. Now, what we did in the past also is lower the key light down so it's almost completely dark. I think we should do that with this one too, just to see. I want to see what her expression looks like. So give me just a moment. Switch this up a bit. Get this lowered down. In fact, I'm going to switch over here so I can see her better. Yeah, that's pretty cool. Just get just enough. Yeah, that looks kind of nice. Okay. And then we bring in the white. This is definitely more of a moody vibe here. Ooh, wait, that looks pretty slick right there. What's cool about that, see how that brings out the sinister qualities in her facial expression? That is pretty cool. Like, to me, that's like, I don't know, like when I think about the movie, Margot was focusing kind of more on the maniacal, charming side of the character Harley Quinn, but we didn't really see her be like full on like evil, if you want to like describe it that way. We did see a glimpse of it when she was in her holding cell, and she was messing like with the security person and that sort of thing. But looking at this, like, that to me, like, that is a side of Harley where it's like, oh, like she's holding that baseball bat and suddenly she's got an idea and she wants to see all your ideas just spill out onto the floor. That's nice too in the back. Now that's interesting. Like when you start to shine a light directly into her face. See how it's interesting how like she doesn't look as sinister here. She almost looks kind of silly. But then you start to raise the light, and this is way too strong. But yeah, right around there, and then you start to get it. You get more of those core shadows appearing, and you're like, ooh, that's got mood. Yeah, that looks good too. I'm going to change the color up here. Go back to that pink color. Yeah, see, once again, even with the pink, you get it in just the right angle, and suddenly that sinister quality comes out in your face. You're like, whoa. Yeah, definitely don't want to do it like that, but that's a little too much pink. Just to straighten honestly, probably my favorite role that she has ever done is I, Tonya. I think that one, I was like, floored. I could not believe the performance on that. But in terms of Harley Quinn, you know, I think that we as fans have been very lucky that she has taken on this role, and she's done so in multiple films now. My hope is that she'll continue to do this for the foreseeable future. I don't honestly, you know, that brings up another thing too entirely about how James Gunn has now taken over and has this new creative vision for the DC universe. And I don't know if they're going to continue forward with using her as Harley Quinn or if they're going to go back to the drawing board. It seems like with Henry Cavill not being used going forward in Superman, as well as I think I even heard Dwayne Johnson is no longer going to be Black Adam, at least in terms of like the standalone sequel films. He did say something about how they may use him in the future down the road, but I don't know if it's necessarily going to be as Black Adam. So it strikes me that there will probably be a pretty big overhaul of actors and the characters that we've all come to know and love. And that's honestly, I mean, that's kind of what makes this piece for me that much more special, is that, you know, in the event that she is no longer Harley Quinn, or maybe she will be for one or two more films, you know, we'll have to just kind of wait and see how that plays out. But at least I can have this and look back on and be like, wow, like this was such a cool rendition of the character. I don't think that this is a perfect piece. You know, going through some of the things that I mentioned earlier, it is a bit of a bummer that the seam on the stocking is on the inside. It is visible. It is there. I would have preferred if there were no seam whatsoever. And the skin texture, a little bit like I was saying here on the parts that are exposed around her hips and her tummy, you know, I think the texture is a little bit too strong. I would have reduced that by a bit. I know there's a licensing issue too with her boots, in the sense that I believe it had the Adidas logo on the tongue portion of her shoes. And I think they probably just, or not here, but I think it was down here. I don't think they were probably able to get the licensing for that, which, I mean, if you're diehard and you really want to have that, you could always commission somebody who you trust to be able to add in the Adidas logo to that. The bat is also something that, while not a deal breaker, I do have to ding it for that in terms of the engineering, where, you know, the hand itself, you know, at first they were not going to include this, but then they realized, well, we got to do something, because the hand, because it's made out of that medical grade silicone, it is unable to have the strength to be able to hold on to the bat. So they included a couple of these little, like, I don't know what they are. They almost look like pieces of sandpaper in a way, but they're designed to be able to provide more grip to the bat with this particular hand. Again, I've seen enough stories where people have been placing their bats into position, and then all of a sudden, like, something gets jostled, or maybe nothing gets jostled. Maybe like it's staying perfectly still and gravity just does its thing, and then the bat falls. I think that could have been improved upon from an engineering standpoint to come up with a better solution. Because even when you look at this, like, I don't want to have like some piece of sandpaper or whatever that is wedged in there. I want a nice, clean, defined hand against the bat. And I know that the fishing line will be a solution to be able to take care of this, but just in terms of being the customer, like, I shouldn't have to MacGyver certain things in order for them to stay where they're supposed to be in the first place. So those types of things aside, if I had to give this piece a rating, I would give it a 9 out of 10. I think on the positive side of things, the textures of the clothing are really cool. I mean, it's cool to see the stockings texture with like the booty shorts, shimmery look on there, the sequins. The jacket looks really nice. I love how it's made out of fabric. The t-shirt with the stains and the rips look great. The shiny parts of the jacket look really cool. The J that has the cubic zirconian in there, that looks really nice. The spiked bracelets are cool. The choker looks nice. The gun, the gun itself, I know you couldn't really see it too much with it being inside the holster, but I mean, there's a lot of nice detail in there. And it's fun for just like, your eye can just kind of go from place to place. Again, as I mentioned earlier, the detail on the fingernails, that was really fun. That was really cool of them to make sure that got represented. The textures on the gloves. The hair itself, the hair has a really nice sense of body to it. It is really impressive that they do have some kind of formula that they use, some kind of chemicals or whatever. So I don't know if it's mousse or spray gel, who knows, but like it is very friendly to being able to kind of calm the hair down. I know in my case, I have some wild strands of hair there, but I mean, I think with some futzing that'll calm back down. That's really nice. And ultimately, I mean, at the end of the day, it's Margot Robbie. I mean, I love looking at a statue that actually has a very close resemblance. Is it perfect? No. I think that there are still some little subtle tweakings that can happen. However, having said that though, this is a very strong likeness. And especially like when I'm looking at the piece from different angles, there are certain angles where I'm like, that's 100% Margot Robbie. Now, in other angles, it's like, well, it looks more like 90% Margot Robbie or 85% Margot Robbie. And again, I think that's kind of like, how do you get to that uncanny valley when it comes to actual people that people see in the theater, right? Like you see these people on these gigantic screens looking incredible and whatnot. And so it's not so much are they a fictional comic book character at that point. Now you're having to replicate someone who's a living, breathing person. So that's been kind of an ongoing creative challenge. But I can say with confidence that this is by far the closest I've ever seen. I mean, it does look like Margot Robbie. Well, I want to thank you all for joining me on this particular Joygasm unboxing of the J&D Studios third scale Margot Robbie Harley Quinn. I am looking forward to seeing some other statues coming my way that I'll be able to review as well. But for now, thank you all for joining me, and we'll see you on the next one.